and rallied in hundreds of cities across the country yesterday, demanding tougher gun laws. Some of the speakers were mass shooting survivors, including David Hogg, who co-founded March for Our Lives following a shooting at his school in Parkland, Florida, 4 years ago. The message to lawmakers was direct: act now or get voted out.
If our government can't do anything to stop 19 kids from being killed and slaughtered in their own school and decapitated, it's time to change who is in government.
In perhaps a sign of the times, there was some brief panic at the rally here in Washington yesterday when a man yelled and threw an object into the crowd, sending people running from the stage. This morning, we've learned that a bipartisan group of senators have reached an agreement on new
First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua. Man, today's going to be a real quick lesson, but you see the title. Time is almost up, right? Time is almost up to get out of here, and we got to prepare mentally, spiritually, physically, do whatever we got to do to examine ourselves when it comes to the scriptures. We know what we got to do, right? This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore so sober and watch unto prayer. The Bible told us that the end is near. The end is at hand, right? We always got to be mindful of the end, right? We always got to be watching. The Bible's always telling us to watch and pray, right? Be ready. So this is something that we got to make sure that we're doing, watching and praying, right? Time is almost up. We see all these mass shootings. As a matter of fact, I actually had an article that I wanted to present. Salakia, I completely forgot about it. Just an article that happened, a mass shooting that happened 2 days ago. Right, so we're seeing a lot of these mass shootings coming up. That's happening up on the earth. We got to make sure that we're watching and praying always. Shoot, men of Israel, we got to make sure that we're warning the people. That's our jobs. Make sure that we're warning them, right? So, Lucky, I'm trying to find this. I don't know where I put it. Let's see. It says at least 13 people were killed and more than 24 wounded in multiple mass shootings across the United States this weekend. Multiple mass shootings, right? They're going to continue to happen. You might see some slow down. You know, you might see it slow down and you might think things are going to get back to normal, but we already know the scriptures. The scriptures tell us that it's going to get worse, right? It's going to look like it slowed down, but it's going to pick back up and it's going to get worse, right? It says at least 13 people were killed and more than 2,000, more than 24, that means forgive me. Salakia means forgive me. More than 24 wounded in multiple shootings across the United States this weekend, as lawmakers struggle to respond to the country's long-running epic of gun violence. Right, this country was built on violence. So, what do you think the end is going to be? The end of this country is going to be violence, right? So, again, 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And all things, and above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves. For charity shall cover a multitude of sin. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. So this is things that the Bible is telling us that we must do. right? We've got to make sure that we're watching and praying. I think the last video I did, I ended with, we got to make sure we're watching always and praying always. Something that the Bible's always telling us to do is to watch and pray, right? Because these times are coming and you want to make sure that you're protected spiritually as much as possible. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 4. And Hamashiach Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So we know this is talking about, because it gave us warning of these people earlier in the text, in the Old Testament, in the book of Jeremiah chapter 23, that the preachers have scattered the sheep of his flock. So we know what the preachers are doing. They're coming in his name and they're scattering his sheep, right? They've been dividing they've been dividing Israel for a long time, not telling them who they are, not telling them what they're supposed to do. You know how many people we go out there and we talk to and ask them what sin is and they can't tell us what sin is? That's like the very basic, man. That's the very basic thing that our people need to know, because you can't get away from it if you don't know what you're getting away from. How you know how to get away from sin? You don't know how to get away from sin if you don't know what sin is. You got to find out what sin is. So these are the very basic things. We don't go out there to the streets to teach people the deep breakdowns, right? We go out there to the streets to teach them the milk of the scriptures, because this is what's going to get them into the kingdom. Our hope to get them into the kingdom, right? Having faith in the Most High God, having faith in his son, right? I'm going to get that real quick, because it always must be said. These are things that always must be said. In the book of Revelations, chapter 14 and verse 12, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua. So we got to make sure that we're walking in the footsteps of the saints. And the saints are going to keep the commandments of God, and they're going to have the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, right? So lock it. Give me just 1 second. Get back to my lesson. Matthew chapter 24. I'm going to start at verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. So when we hear these wars and rumors of wars, the Bible tells us to not be troubled. It says, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So he's going to tell us what to look for. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. We see these things happening right now. We see that nation is rising against nations and kingdom against kingdom. And it's going to happen more and more frequently. It's going to happen more and more. We're going to see these things come about to where it's going to get more chaotic. You're going to see videos of just people out in the streets doing, I mean, we're already seeing them, but it's going to get even worse. It's going to get worse and worse. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So we see these things. We see food shortages. We see famine. We see pestilence. We see these things, the lack of crops, lack of just swarms of locusts and things to that nature, right? So we see these things happening on the earth. We hear earthquakes in diverse places. It says, but the end is not yet. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrow. So this is what we're experiencing, the beginning of sorrow. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrow. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. So this hasn't happened yet. That's the step. That's the next step. we are going to be given up to be afflicted. We're going to be delivered up to be afflicted. It says, and shall kill you. So a lot of us is going to die. A lot of the Israelites is going to die. It says, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Because we know that the world hated Christ. They fake act like they really love Christ. They really know who Christ is. Christ he don't just love you for no reason. He don't love you for you doing bad things, right? People don't know Christ. Christ's love and is just like the Father's love. They have a condition. It's not just you can do whatever you want and I'll still love you. That's not the Father. Father don't do that. He's always told us, if you listen to my words, if you do this, if you do that, those are conditions. If you don't listen, then guess what? You're going to get punished. You're going to get judged, right? So if you do listen, then you'll get blessings. So those are the conditions of the Father. The Father of heaven and earth has conditions to his love. And these are the things, this is how we know him. This is how we know the Father. Or at least those that study. And those men that study, you need to make sure that y'all are by them. Y'all are listening to them. Don't argue with them, because they're going to come out of the scriptures and they'll be able to back it up, right? Lord willing, they'll be able to back it up according to the scriptures, right? It says, then shall they deliver you up and to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. A lot of people don't know what iniquity is, right? But it says here that iniquity shall abound, meaning it's going to be broad. You're going to see sin everywhere, like we see it today. So these are the beginning of sorrow. So this is what we're seeing. It says again, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So iniquity is sin. It's sin on top of sin, on top of sin, on top of sin. Not repenting, not asking for forgiveness, not turning away from what the Most High God and the Bible says was wrong, what's right and what's wrong, right? So we got to know, according to the Bible, what's right and what's wrong. This is why men do these videos. The Israelites do these videos, because that is the love of the Father, that we come out and we show you what is right and what is wrong. We come out and we teach you what is clean and unclean. That's our job. That's our mission, so that we can get y'all into the kingdom, Lord willing, hopefully, right? It said the love of many shall wax cold. So this is another thing that we're going to see. It says, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So this is saved. Saving isn't just people say that they're saved, and then they'll say something like this. They'll say that they're saved from their sins, right? But then they'll still sin. They're still sinning, right? They're still being disobedient to the Father and his priests and his prophets. They're still being disobedient. So they're still sinning, right? It says, but he that shall endure unto the end. That means you have to continue to keep going. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep enduring. You have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep falling and getting up. You have to continue to do it. You can't give up, right? You got to have a fighting spirit. I did a video called The Fighting Spirit a long time ago. You got to have a fighting spirit. You can't give up, no matter what. You got to keep trying to do what's right. Keep trying to be obedient to the Father. Learn his law, statutes, and commandments, and keep them. Learn the 10, right? Learn how to love the Lord with all your might and all your soul and all your strength. That's one of the first things I learned how to do. I wanted to learn how to do, was to love the Lord thy God with all thy might, right? And I knew it wasn't a physical strength, like I'm lifting weights. It was mentally, it was spiritually, it was with everything that I do. I put the Bible in front of me. I'm always meditating on his laws. That's how I love him with all my might, right? It says the same, it says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So we got to keep pushing forward. We got to keep enduring. It says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. That's the key. Verse 14. It says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The Most High God is using every camp, either for righteousness or for unrighteousness. So he's using the camps. He's using every camp, right? And I'm just going to say, from what I've seen, it's been righteously. Right now, we have seen some hiccups from some camps. They've done some pretty crazy things. So maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe I should go back on that. But so we've seen some camps do some pretty crazy stuff, man. But majority of the camps are really doing a really good job in pushing this truth. And the word is going out to the four corners of the earth through the internet. The word is being pushed into all. It says. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. So this word is going out via YouTube, via TikTok, via Instagram, all these social media platforms. It's going out through all these social media platforms into all nations. And brothers and sisters are waking up and they're teaching on the street corners. We've seen it when I first came in. I started seeing videos of brothers in Africa teaching the word on the street corner. It was crazy, right? It was crazy. But these things are going to happen, and it's going to be pushed into all nations on the earth, right? Then the end shall come. So we are really close. We are really close to this end. So we see all these pestilences, all these kingdoms rising against each other, nations rising against each other. It's going to get worse before it gets better. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword is their destruction, draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So this is what it's talking about is race wars, right? As a matter of fact, let me get this other article. All right, it says white supremacists are rallying up. Thousands on social media. White nationalists and supremacists are building thriving macho communities across social media platforms like Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. Right? They got bullet holes right here through from these white supremacists rallying up. Right? I'm gonna read it again. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So this is what we're seeing. The modern day sword is the gun. So we're going to see these things happening on a mass scale. It's going to get worse and worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse and worse before it gets better, right? Let me get this other article. No, Slovakia. Let me get this. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "For the time is come that the judgment shall begin at the house of God." So people are going to see a lot of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, Guatemalans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. They're going to see a lot of these people being judged. A lot of these Israelites that are not Israelites. They're not walking as Israelites, being killed, right? That's going to happen to us too. Those that do know who they are, right? Because I just read earlier that they're going to come and persecute us and kill us. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17. "For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God?" Right? So if it begin with us, and it's terrible with those that are keeping the commandments and those that are Israelites, then what is going to happen to those that are ungodly of the other nations? It's going to get real bad, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7, "At last, for that time is great, so that none is like it." So it's not going to be a day on the earth like this time. It's going to get bad. So ain't going to never be a time recorded in history that's going to be as bad as this. "At last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." So we're going to be saved out of it. Those that do make it. Some won't and some will, right? Let me show you this other video. This is the last video I got. Like I said, it wasn't going to be too long of a lesson. It's going to be real quick.
I hope y'all been paying attention to the news lately. The entire world is waiting for the United States to fall. We have lost our sovereignty. The United States has been found guilty of genocide when it comes to Black and Indigenous people. We're tired of being enslaved. The grown folks don't want to work no more. The young kids say they ain't finna work for you at all, and they strapped. So what happens to the economy when the world wakes up? It falls. The money is worth nothing, zero, zilch. And I'm willing to bet you that every rich person that's here is going to find Elon Musk, kiss both of his booty cheeks, and say, "Take us to Mars." This is what I call the Great Reset. It's about to be all on us again. And this time, I know that we'll find a way to make the rest of the world respect us as who we are, inhabitants of this planet, the originals.
Dang,
I hope y'all been paying attention to the news lately. The entire world is waiting for the United States to fall. We have lost our sovereignty.
I'm going to have to play that again, because I didn't even pull this up. Salakia, Israel. Bear with me.
I hope y'all been paying attention to the news lately. The entire world is waiting for the United States to fall. We have lost our sovereignty. The United States has been found guilty of genocide when it comes to Black and Indigenous people. We tired of being enslaved. The grown folks don't want to work no more. The young kids say they ain't finna work for you at all, and they strapped. So what happens to the economy when the world wakes up? It falls. The money is worth nothing, zero, zilch. And I'm willing to bet you that every rich person that's here is going to find Elon Musk, kiss both of his booty cheeks, and say, "Take us to Mars." This is what I call the Great Reset. It's about to be all on us again. And this time, I know that we'll find a way to make the rest of the world respect us as who we are, the inhabitants of this planet, the originals.
Now, The brother's in the right spirit. I can't even say nothing against that, because we know that the Bible say in Joel chapter 2 that the Most High God's spirit shall be upon all flesh, right? His spirit will be upon all flesh. So we're going to see brothers and sisters teaching and speaking the truth to a degree, right? It may not be 100% accurate, but those that are studying the Bible will know exactly what's going on and what's being said and what to look for. He said, we know this time that we're going to do it right, and will be respected. And we know the scriptures say that the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and they shall possess it forever and forever and even forever. So that's a very long time. You know, they didn't just say forever one time. They said it over and over again. So the saints of the Most High are going to take the kingdom and possess it forever and ever and even ever, man. Right? So we know what the brother was speaking was facts, though. So Lord willing, that brother, he does wake up to who he is and knowing who he is, and actually start to practice his heritage. But I'm going to end it with this scripture. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 36. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. So we got to make sure that we're praying always to be accounted worthy to escape all these things, and to be able to stand in front of his Son, or to be found worthy enough to stand in front of his Son. So watch and pray always, Israel. And with that, I'm going to give all praises and all glory and all honor to the Most High God, Yahweh, Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua. Shalom, shalom.